This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, week number 16 in the National Football League, NFC West family business. And this type of family business just never gets old. Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. These two teams played to a tie the last time they met up in Arizona. The last time they met here in Seattle, the Cardinals were victorious. One of the few teams that can come to Seattle and win. And so it was really simple for the Seahawks. And I say that all the time because at this point of the season, it is pretty simple for most teams. Just win football games. Okay? All the rest of the stuff will take care of itself. If you're the Seattle Seahawks, nope, you can't elevate your status in the NFC any higher than 2. But guess what? You're there. And all you have to do is win your final 2 games, one at home versus the Arizona Cardinals, who, oh, by the way, are 5-8-1 coming into this game and struggling. Gave up 48 points at the crib just a week ago to the New Orleans Saints. So they're struggling. Yes, they're struggling. And then you have to beat San Francisco in San Francisco next week. Should not be that tall of a task. So take care of business. Take care of yours. You'll have a first round bye, and you'll come off that bye, and you'll be playing at home where it's tough to win. And then your route to the Super Bowl will be that much easier. One road game. That is all. If, and that's a huge if the Cowboys take care of business, then you'll have to go there to win. If not, they'll have to come. Someone else will have to come to you. So you have the plan drawn up. The blueprint has been set. Just go out and win. For the Arizona Cardinals, there's really nothing left to your season other than David Johnson breaking some records and continuing to make a case for league MVP and maybe bust up another family member's aspirations of playoff supremacy. That's all that's left on the plate for the Arizona Cardinals. They can't do anything to help their playoff status. They're out. They can't really do much of anything else but throw a monkey wrench in someone else's playoff plans. So that's what they looked to do in this football game. And I didn't think it was going to happen. To be honest with you, I said the Seahawks are at home. The Cardinals have basically waved the white towel. They gave up 48 a week ago. There's no way they're going to go into Seattle and win. Are they? We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, if you haven't already subscribed to the Louie Tee Network, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game. I want you to help us do that by subscribing to the Louie Tee Network. Also, I'm on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. And I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead, like the Facebook page. So, with that being said, let's jump into this and talk about it from the Arizona Cardinals perspective. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead in this football game, and that was impressive because for a team that gave up 48 last week and a team that lost to the Dolphins the week prior and their season is basically over with, you didn't know what the mindset and the temperament. And I should have known better because this is a Bruce Arians coach football team. He's not going to allow his team to quit. And they've got veterans on this team, guys with pride. And sometimes with a veteran team, you don't know what you're going to get at the end of a disappointing campaign. Are you going to get a veteran group of guys that quit, that say, you know what, there's always next year? Or you're going to get a group of guys that have pride and want to go out and still win football games. And Bruce Arians is going to answer that for me because these guys came out and played. And I think this is a reflection of your head coach. When you know you have nothing else to play for other than pride, and just to get a W in this league, which is hard to do on a week-in, week-out basis, that just goes to show you that this team still believes, and they still believe in the philosophy and what the head coach is saying. And so to get them to come out and jump on top of the Seahawks the way that they did, you get a nice early drive in the game. David Johnson caps it off with a touchdown run. Then you get the big bomb to J.J. Nelson for a touchdown. And just like that, you're up 14-0 in this game. You go to the halftime break up 14-3. and you come out and the Seahawks are making a push and you continue to keep them at bay in this football game. They make a play, you make a play. And it was just amazing and fascinating to watch this thing unfold because you just felt like Seattle's going to win this game. Seattle's going to win this game. They're going to find a way to win this game. And when Jimmy Graham made his play for the touchdown, you said, okay, here comes Seattle. They're going to get a stop. They're going to get the football back, and they're going to win this football game. And that's exactly what they did up until the part about winning the game. They got the stop. They got the football back. They went right down the field. They scored a touchdown. And just like that, it's tied, and you're thinking, okay, knock this extra point through. And Steven Hauschka hasn't been house money this season. As we've seen when these two teams have played, he's probably struggled the most. And it's funny because throughout his career, he struggled the most with this Arizona Cardinals team. Most of his struggles have happened in Arizona, however, but he struggled again, missed the extra point. And then, so you have a 31-31 game, and you're thinking, okay, all you got to do is get a stop, send this thing to overtime. And if you do that, Seattle's probably going to find a way to win. But they couldn't get the stop. And you let David Johnson get you, and this guy is so phenomenal as a running back, almost had 100 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns in this game for DJ to go along with 95 on the ground and a huge catch, probably the biggest play of the game down the sidelines, man-to-man in coverage was Cam Chancellor. He stops, does David Johnson. Cam Chancellor keeps going, and he catches the football, puts the Cardinals in field goal range, and they would run a couple more plays, get a little closer, and Chandler Catanzaro would come onto the field and bang home the game winner as the Arizona Cardinals go into Seattle in improbable fashion and win 34-31. Did not see this one coming. And this is what the division is all about. This is what family business at its core is all about. Winning when it seems highly unlikely. You go in there and you find a way to win. And for Seattle, this type of win here is reflective of what this team should have been this season. They should have been a team that should be competing for a playoff berth right now as we speak. Should have been one of the top teams in the NFC. The talent is there. They've got everything you need defensively, offensively, and they just, for some reason, one or another, just haven't been able to put it together this season. And this is another reminder of how good this team can be when they play and are clicking on all cylinders. And it's a shame that right now we're talking about a 6-8-1 ball club that just went into Seattle, a tough place to play. And even though there's no Earl Thomas, and we'll talk about that here in a second, I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but yes, that matters. They still went into Seattle. They went into CenturyLink and scored 34 points. That's pretty hard to do. And they did it, and they won the football game. And David Johnson surpasses 100 yards of total offense. Almost did it on just rushing yards alone in this game. And so, again, he now has 15 straight games to start a season, a new NFL record. Was tied with Edgerrin James at 14. He just broke that record, I think, a week ago. And now he set a new record at 15 games to start the season. And I think he's now tied with Barry Sanders for the most consecutive games of 100 all-purpose yards. And he's got a shot at 1,000. I don't think he's going to make it, but he's got a shot. And this guy's so remarkable. And it's amazing what he's doing. And he should be in the MVP discussion. But because of the struggles of this Cardinals football team, unfortunately, his name isn't going to resonate the way that it should. Had this been last year's team, and he's putting up the numbers he's putting up now, this guy would have been a runaway slam dunk MVP candidate. Instead, he probably won't get nearly as many votes as he should. This guy is phenomenal. He's remarkable and arguably the best back in all of the National Football League. You go to the Seattle Seahawks. This loss drops them to 9-5-1 on the season, takes them from second in the NFC Conference and drops them to the 3rd seed in the NFC Conference, which is really disappointing because, again, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, we know about the struggles on the road this season. We know about the struggles with this team defensively without Earl Thomas. To alleviate any stress of having to go on the road, the best way to have done this would have been to get the 2 seed, sit out the first week, come back off the bye in the divisional round, win at home, and then set you up a situation where if Dallas takes care of business, okay, so you go to Big D. If they don't, whomever is left has to come to Seattle, and maybe you carve out another trip to the Super Bowl because of home field advantage. Now you've put yourself in a position where you got to win against San Francisco in Week 17, and now you got to hope for an Atlanta Falcons loss at home versus New Orleans. I wouldn't bank on that, but again, no one banked on the fact that the Arizona Cardinals was going to go into Seattle and win, so stranger things have happened. But in this particular game, you lose Tyler Lockett to a leg injury, going to require surgery. He's done for the season. You lose Thomas Rawls in this game to an injury as well. So we saw a lot of Alex Collins in this game. Anytime Russell Wilson is your leading rusher and he only has 38 yards, there's a problem. There's a big problem for your football team, and that's the lack of balance there. Anytime I see Russell Wilson with 45 passing attempts, there's a problem. Again, he shouldn't be throwing the football that many times in any ball game. That either means you're behind or you're having problems running the football. In any event, both of them are problems for this Seattle Seahawks football team. And because of the way that this game was set up, down 14 early, you had to basically abandon the run game, not to mention you had injuries. So there wasn't a lot there going in the favor of the Seattle Seahawks. They had to put it on the shoulders of Russell Wilson. I thought he actually responded well to having to bring his team back. They chipped away, got some opportunities, took advantage of those opportunities, and they found themselves in a position to take the lead late in this ball game, and Russell Wilson delivered. Made some clutch throws to Doug Baldwin. He had a monstrous game, a catch-and-run touchdown, a big catch late that set up the touchdown in the corner of the end zone to Richardson that we thought was going to give them the lead, ultimately tied the game and wasn't able to convert the extra point to give them the lead. In any event, it wouldn't have mattered because the defense gave up the field goal late to lose the game 34-31. Speaking of the defense, this is going to be an issue moving forward because you don't have Earl Thomas. And again, I hate to beat this horse. It is dead and has been so for quite some time. But there's a stark difference to this defense with him in it and him not in the lineup. And you saw it on that final drive when David Johnson was running down the sidelines. That should be Earl Thomas, not Cam Chancellor. And you saw the difference there. Earl Thomas would have been there, would have been able to make a play on that football. You got Cam Chancellor out in space like a fish out of water. That's just not where he's comfortable being. And you saw the difference there. And this is a defense that I'm not used to, and neither are you, seeing them give up these types of points, especially at home. And we know the Seahawks have had their struggles on the road this season. This is alarming when you give up 34 at home. And I know it's family business, and I know how that goes, but it's still CenturyLink, and there's supposed to be a level of invincibility and an aura of invincibility there that is supposed to give Seattle a little bit of an edge. And when you give up 34 at home and you lose the ball game, you start to lose that edge at home. Teams don't respect that building as much. They feel like, hey, if Arizona can go in there and win, why can't we? And so this is a tough one. Bitter pill to swallow if you're Seattle, because you thought you did everything you could to get back in and ultimately steal this game, only to see it slip through your fingers because of some bad special teams and some worse defense down the stretch. You had opportunities in this game. You didn't make plays. You got a punt blocked. Special teams did not do you any favors in this game if you're Seattle. A lot of miscues. The offensive line was not good in this game. But then again, when has the offensive line been really good this season? Anyway, okay? I've talked about the offensive line and the lack of continuity and the lack of and look, this is a story that's been talked about in the media quite a bit. They talked about it during this game, as a matter of fact, about the lack of resources put in to the offensive line, which can be misleading because they want to talk about payroll, but if you draft young guys, which the Seahawks have done, they just haven't spent high enough draft picks, I don't think, on a lot of these guys. But you know, when you've got a Justin Britt on the offensive line, when you've got the young kid you just drafted out of Texas A&M on your offensive line, Jermaine Ifedi, when you've got a number of young guys, Mark Glowinski, all these guys are young, so you're not going to be paying them a ton of money. But my problem is your left tackle position and your right tackle position aren't solidified. And you didn't spend high draft picks, which is what you should be spending. And I know you spent one on Jermaine Ifedi, but he's playing guard. So as I'm concerned right now, you don't have linchpins at the tackle positions. That's a problem because those are the premier positions on your offensive line, along with center, which you have solidified with Justin Britt, but you don't have a left or right tackle. I don't want to hear about George Font. I don't want to hear about a retread out there that's ran around the entire division and hasn't been good for anyone. You can't win with a guy like Bradley Soul out there. So I'm not buying what the Seahawks are selling up front. I don't like the way that they've created this line in front of Russell Wilson. They're not running the football effectively. They've had injuries. I get it. Now they have another one in Tyler Lockett. So a guy like your draft pick from a couple of years and Richardson's going to have to step up because you need that kind of speed, and he's the only guy that can give it to you now with Lockett out of the lineup. So we're going to see how they respond to this loss. They're in the playoffs already, which is a good thing. They've already won the division. We'll see if they can get back to the 2 seed. Highly unlikely, but all you can do if you're the Seahawks is win in Week 17, let the chips fall where they may, see what happens with the Falcons and the Saints game. And maybe you get back to the 2 seed, maybe you don't. In any event, worst case scenario, you need to find a way to play better football going into the playoffs, and you're going to get an opportunity to do that versus a very bad San Francisco 49ers football team. So, with that being said, let's get to your comments and get out of here. So, we'll start with Sherlock Homeboy. He says, I need to keep my mouth shut. I jinxed my Hawks today. Man, F Bruce Arians. That chubby red chipmunk looking MF. Stop your nonsense, man. Bruce was doing everything he could to try to get this one done, including calling that timeout when nobody heard it on a 3rd down. But the Seahawks got the stop again and got the football back and ultimately went down and got the touchdown to tie the game. But Bruce has got those boys playing still at 6-8-1. Sherlock Homeboy says, the O-line must have a beef with Russell. They let 3 hurries and 6 sacks. Pathetic performance by the defense. Also, especially the secondary. Jeremy Lane is trash, man to man. Look, you're going to have these kinds of F-ups because there's no guy back there to erase it all. It's one thing when you've got a guy in the back end that can erase your mistakes. You don't have that. And just so you know, there's a report out now that says that he's not contemplating retirement. I'm talking of Earl Thomas. He said he's going to be back next year. And I think he was just in his feelings. He was really upset at the fact that he wasn't out there and able to help. And it crossed his mind, but I think it was a fleeting thought. But in any event, it's different when you've got a guy that can erase your mistakes in Earl Thomas back there. He's not back there anymore. And so now all of those guys who are getting beat or are making mistakes, it's now showing up. And it's something that you can now see. It's a lot more noticeable than it was before because there isn't someone back there to clean up all the messes that are being made in the front end. First name, last name says, Merry Christmas. Likewise, man. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Sherlock Homeboy says, your Redskins did some damage, though. They did, but it was against the Bears, so it's hard to get excited. I'm excited because we won. I'm excited because we put up 40, which is great, but it took us 5 turnovers and some really good ball by Kirk to do it. So we still need help. We did our part this week, but it was disappointing because we didn't do it last week. But I'm not here to nitpick. We got a W. I'll take it. We'll move on. Arizona Animal says, hashtag Kings of Seattle, hashtag David the God Johnson, hashtag bow down, hashtag get on your knees. And they've been playing some ball against these Seahawks of late. Anthony Hibbert says, you still super confident Seattle can beat Dallas? LOL. No. I still think they can. I mean, the thing that Seattle has that should scare every team in the NFC, despite their struggles, is experience, which is what just about every team in the NFC is lacking. The Cowboys don't have it. The Atlanta Falcons don't have it. There aren't many teams in this conference that have the type of experience in the postseason, and I don't want you to think that that's something that can be understated. Experience is huge. It's a different ball game. It's a different level of intensity. It's just different. And the only team that can really say, hey, we've been here, done that, and we know what it takes is the Seattle Seahawks. And if Green Bay gets in, the Packers will be able to say that. But I mean, if it's the Lions, they can't say that. And if it's the Redskins and they get in, they can only say they've been in the playoffs once, and that was last year, and they got mopped and sent packing. So not many teams can say they got experience like the Seattle Seahawks do. So they've got that on their side. Arizona Animal says, we beat their ass with practice squad players. I don't know about that, but your guys did show up. Big game from J.J. Nelson, big game from David Johnson. Your big-time players showed up when you needed them to. Larry Fitzgerald, so forth and so forth. Arizona Animal says, if B.A. didn't tell our defensive coordinator to keep blitzing, Seattle would have never came back. All we had to do is keep them in front of us and tackle, and they did not do a good job of that in the second half. Case in point, Doug Baldwin catches a comeback against pressure, and there is nobody in the secondary, and I mean nobody. Williams gets smoked. Your rookie gets smoked on this play. And all Doug Baldwin does is turn to the inside, turn it up the field, and he's off to the races for about a 45-yard touchdown. Just like that. I mean, insane. Brian Emerson says, let's go Cardinals. And he's excited about that. He really wanted that when he was talking about it last week, and they went and got it for him. That was a huge win for the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Animal says, Seattle is one and done. I don't know about that, but this was not a good showing by their defense for sure. The offense, I thought, did enough to win. You score 31, you're supposed to find a way to win. You give up 34, and that's a tough way in this league to make a living, and they found that out the hard way in this football game, losing to the Arizona Cardinals 34-31. Cardinals go to 6-8-1 on the season. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks drop from the second seed to the third seed in the NFC playoffs and drop to 9-5-1 on the season. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room on the Louie Tee Network. Lockdown coverage week 16. Cardinals shock the Seahawks 34-31. Drop the Seahawks from the second seed to the third seed in the NFC playoffs. It's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Have a great day. Enjoy the festivities. And as always, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. See you in the AM.